Question, do you guys watch me just on your own, or...?
No, I'm with my
Hey all you Hillmaniacs, it's Hillmanator, and yes, that was a very dead meme. As soon as I've just asked you guys a question, I thought it was only fair that you got to ask me some. In other words, I couldn't be bothered to come up with a video idea for this week, so we're doing another Q&A. It's been a couple months, so I feel justified in letting it wait this long. This is fine. I'm not out of ideas and just relying on other YouTubers to inspire things and hoping that I'll eventually come up with something. What? No. So I asked you guys on both my Facebook page and my Instagram, which I guess I haven't actually plugged before on my channel, so I'll link that down in the description. But I asked you guys for questions, and here are what I have got. Are there any places in New Zealand you plan on visiting when you get time off uni? Well, I'm actually getting some time off uni next week for about 2 weeks, I believe, where I shall be able to go on a little bit of exploring. Now, unfortunately, I don't have anything, like, properly prepared yet, but I do know that I want to visit Hobbiton, which is, it's about half an hour's drive away, so I'm going to have to get the bus or whatnot, but it's Hobbiton. And as I've told you previously, my favourite film is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Hobbiton is part of my favourite film franchise. I can't exactly not go while I'm in New Zealand. Heck, I even wear the One Ring on more or less a daily basis, so you know, might as well. What's the best part of life in New Zealand? I mean, I haven't lived here for an insanely long time, so I probably can't say the absolute best. Also, it's difficult for me to say because I've been living specifically on a campus as a study abroad student. I experience New Zealand in a very different way to everyone else. That being said, I would say probably the best thing about New Zealand for me personally has been that it's similar enough to the UK that I can basically just get away with using my regular vocabulary and my regular slang without having to change anything, but it's different enough that I am still getting a bit of a new experience and whatnot. So it definitely ticks off that part of my my New Year's resolutions where I said I wanted to go into a different culture and whatnot. It's probably the only one of my New Year's resolutions that I'm actually going to manage to complete, but hey, that's one. Please can you include our clip before the intro of the video? Already done, mate. Is it freezing, cold, mild or warm there? Right, so there's a couple of things I need to establish. First off, I don't particularly feel temperature all that much. In general, I'm pretty darn good with it. In fact, my school went on a trip to Iceland in 2015, and I got shouted at one day because I had not put on more layers and I was walking around outside in just a t-shirt. Which was stupid of me, but I didn't feel cold, so why would it matter? No, I shouldn't need more layers, I'm fine. I can tell you by looking at our weather forecast. So, bear in mind, it's currently winter in New Zealand because New Zealand's seasons work opposite to how it is in the Northern Hemisphere. So, right now, we're looking at about 12 degrees Celsius. The coldest it's going to get tonight is only about 10, which is quite high considering how it's been recently. But tomorrow, and for the rest of the week, the highest it's going to be is about 14, and the coldest it will be is about 3 degrees. So it's probably a bit chilly, or for most people. For me, it's fine, I don't feel it, but yeah. What do I do in my spare time? Okay, there's a couple of things I do. First off, I spend an insane amount of time on YouTube, because I need to steal my ideas for videos from somewhere. No, if I'm honest, I spend a lot of time watching the YouTubers from either back in Lancaster or just other ones that I've been following for a long time. The rest of the time, I'm either watching some classic Doctor Who from 1963, because why the heck not? Or I've been recently working on my piano quite a bit. I am still flaming useless at it, but I'm better than I was when I came over here. I've been doing a bit of Duolingo as well, and I've been doing my running on my Couch to 5K app, which I think I've told you guys about before. I have to admit that one is a bit of a struggle for me. I'm kind of inconsistent on it, but I've been trying to do it regularly, so, you know, hopefully it will work out. What is my favourite thing about studying abroad? Well, I mean, there are so many different options. I could say that it's the food, because I've tried some really interesting food while I've been over here. I could say that it's, you know, getting to experience new wildlife, because I've seen all of these birds that we don't have back home and all of these plants. I could say that it's the different way that the university is structured. Or I could say that it's none of those things at all. Truth is, probably the most interesting thing about studying abroad is the fact that you immediately become irregularity. So when you introduce yourself to someone, particularly me as a Brit, there's a lot of Americans here this year, and a lot of people from South Asia, and there aren't many Brits. In fact, I think I've only met maybe a handful, and they aren't in any of my classes really, so it's kind of weird. But when you introduce yourself as a Brit, people immediately go, oh, okay. And so you immediately have a way to make friends with someone, because you're unusual, you're different, and so why not investigate that more? Am I missing my family? That message was sent by my sister. Subtle. While I don't miss them as much as I know a lot of other people have missed my family and stuff, there have been occasions where I have. Not a ton, but just kind of like, oh, it'd be nice if I could have talked to someone at this point, but hey ho, let's get on with life. So, for example, about 2 weeks ago, I was having a bit of a rough time, just not for any particular reason. I just felt down that day and wanted to give someone a call, but then I remembered, hey, it's 4 in the morning, so how about you don't? So instead, by the way, when I say 4 in the morning, I specifically mean in England, not here. So instead, I went and I practiced my piano in the rec room over here, and I actually felt much better after that. So as I said, it's not like a proper, I'm not as emotional as a lot of people, so it's not a full-on missing thing, but it's kind of like, it'd be useful if I could have a chat with them every so often. Yes, I do coldly manipulate my family into being useful for me. Are there any major differences in the type of learning styles between the two unis? Okay, so in terms of the learning styles, it's very similar. So at Lancaster, I had lectures for each of my modules of subjects rather, and then I would have a seminar which I would do some of the work and discuss what we had talked about in the lecture. Now over here it's very much the same, except we do workshops. However, there are some differences. So Lancaster doesn't record any of its lectures at all. But Waikato does, which is good because on the one hand it means that I can actually look back over the lectures and make sure that I didn't miss anything, because the lecturers speak at a ridiculous speed where everything is kind of fast. But at the same time, these are live broadcasts onto the website where they're then uploaded again, and because of that, kind of makes me less motivated to actually go to the lectures. I do go, but sometimes it feels just a bit like, ugh, I could just be sat in bed, but instead I'm over here listening to someone discuss how Socrates was all like, yes, eugenics please. Then there's the assessments, where there's a lot more quizzes. Participation points is a thing over here, which not a thing in the UK, like ever. So it's kind of odd. So far, do you feel the work is more demanding in New Zealand or in Lancaster? Now, it's an interesting question, because I feel like if I had been in New Zealand for my first year, I definitely would have said that work was harder at New Zealand, whereas if I were, because I'm from Lancaster, I would say that the work was harder at Lancaster. But that is not because the work is harder in either. It's purely because a lot of the stuff that we've been doing over here, I didn't realise that I had already done, because it was like wasn't necessarily mentioned. For example, in the next half of the term, up until November, we're going to be looking at John Stuart Mill, which, as you guys, I think I've mentioned it before, but I studied utilitarianism extensively. I've looked at Mill's theories a lot. I did it at A-level, I've done it at university for part of my first year, and so it's kind of, I'm not sure, because certain aspects are definitely harder, but then other aspects aren't. And equally, there is one module that I'm taking which is actually a third year course, so I can't really say whether that's harder just because I'm in New Zealand, or whether it's harder because I'm taking a third year course as a second year. There are areas where both of them are significantly harder. What's studying abroad like? It's a useful question, you know, there's no way that you could misinterpret that question. There's a very clear question there. I've enjoyed studying abroad so far. It's been good. It's been nice to meet lots of people from around the world, because obviously it's not just New Zealanders here, not just Kiwis. We've got a lot of people from all over the place, as I mentioned earlier. So it's quite nice to meet everyone. It's difficult for me, especially because everyone else who I live with, and like even in this entire accommodation block, essentially, well, I say block, the like Orchard Park area, they're all kind of mid-20s-ish, and I'm very much the younger person. I think I'm the youngest person in OP right now, which is weird. But of course, being from the UK, there's one thing that even though I'm half the world away, I can't get away from. Brexit! I've had so many questions about Brexit. So many. I'll assume that because I'm British I will actually understand it and be able to explain it, but all of us from the UK know we have no clue what's going on. I don't think anyone has a clue what's going on. I'm pretty sure even the politicians have no clue what's going on. But yeah, it's been fun trying to explain my country's history and politics and stuff. I do have a lot of history knowledge though, so I suppose I am probably the best person to do it. Which is better, Uni Un New Zealand or Lancaster? It's quite interesting because you've got 3 terms at Lancaster. Well, you've got obviously the Michaelmas term, then the Lent term, and then the summer term. And in between each one of those you get a considerable break, but that's about it. Whereas over here, there are only 2 terms that I will be studying for. I'm studying at the winter to summer term, which goes from about the end of June, start of July, all the way till November. And then I've got the summer to winter term, which will be going from February until about June. Lancaster seems to focus a lot on essays, at least for my subject. I had, how many essays did I have in my first year? I had the 4 in RS, the, what, was it 5 in philosophy? And then 3 in film, I think? Can't remember precisely, but I'm pretty sure that is, right? So far, for my university experience, over here, I'm in the process of writing 2, and that's it for this half of the term. I think I'm going to have 2 more towards the second half of the term, but yeah, there really aren't that many essays over here, I don't think. It's far less essay based, at least for the modules that I'm studying. I think part of the problem is that I haven't done the modules at Lancaster. In my first year, obviously, I just did the core courses. So it's difficult to compare just doing, you know, the ones that I had to do with just doing the ones that I want to do. In terms of what the university actually has available to it, Lancaster takes the cake easy. The library is flaming massive, as you guys know who went to Lancaster, and I've shown some of you guys in my various videos before. Then there's all of these different food shops around. You've got Sultan's, which is great after a night out. You've got like the Subway, you've got WH Smith's on campus, you've got a Greg's on campus, which is flaming useful. There's so many different options for things that you can do on the campus, which just make everything very convenient. And the transport between anywhere is so much better at Lancaster because of the ring road that goes around the uni. Whereas over here, all of the buses more or less just come to one place, which is, unfortunately for me, on the other side of campus. So that's useful. But in terms of which one I prefer the style of teaching and the academics of, not really sure. Maybe after my year of doing modules at Lancaster in 3rd year, I'll actually be able to choose. But right now, I don't know. Those are all my questions from Instagram. Now to switch over to Facebook. Oh, that's an interesting one. What is my biggest regret of 1st year? Now, there are so many things that I could choose from because as an epic failure of a human being, I just have so many.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
No, if I'm honest, I don't tend to regret all that much. I generally stick by my decisions because of various things. As I've told you previously, I'm a very logical person. I realise me saying that can sometimes sound weird, but basically, because I think out so many of my things to a ridiculous degree, it means that I don't generally overthink things. One thing that I definitely do regret, though, is that the shop that was near us on campus may have had a significant amount of my money, because they had some really good chicken, bacon and mayo sandwiches. Maybe. I do regret leaving a couple of things late. For example, my first weekly vlog at Lancaster, I had finished my essays, as I say in the vlog, but I hadn't fine-tuned it because I had left it a bit late. And so I ended up staying up ridiculously late trying to fine-tune it and then print it off, and I had trouble with my printer. So if I hadn't left things as late as I did, probably would have worked out better for me. Of course, have I learnt my lesson from that? No, I procrastinate way too much anyway, but I've tried to get better. Why did I choose my course? Now, I assume you mean my course at Lancaster, which is Philosophy and Religious Studies Joint Honours, because I don't think I've actually told you guys which modules I'm studying over here. For this term, I'll be studying Mind, Matter and Consciousness, Reason, Science and Pseudoscience, Moral and Political Philosophy, a History, and Magic, Witchcraft and Religion, which is essentially just the anthropology of religion with a flashy name. Why did I choose to study religion and philosophy? It's pretty much because I had no idea what I was going to do otherwise. I decided not to pursue maths after my first year of A-levels, and then I had my options limited. I was studying drama and theatre, history, and religious studies, which of course had an element of philosophy. Now, I loved all three of those subjects, and I still find them all very enjoyable. So I would happily do research into history anytime. I've actually gone back and rewatched certain history documentaries that I used to watch because I just find them interesting. But would I ever want to go down and do a history degree? Part of the problem with me doing that would have been that I flipping hate source work with an undying passion. Of course, I still have to do source work as an academic in philosophy and religion, but it's less like the sort of source work that we had to do in history, which the way we handled sources in history was not fun to me. I just wanted to learn history. I didn't want to actually engage in the academic aspect of it. Then came the options of either pursuing drama or going after philosophy and religion. And I love both of those. You can probably tell from how I act on these vlogs and stuff that I still enjoy my drama a lot. In fact, I've told you previously that I was asked to play Norman Bates in another group's short film of Psycho because they needed an actor, and I was just happy to do it. And I loved it. I still love doing drama. But the problem is, I figured if I wanted to do drama, it would be better to go to an acting school. And part of the problem with going to an acting school is they're blooming expensive. Way more expensive than regular unis are. And you don't get as much financial help going to them. So that kind of limited it a bit. And then also, I spent a considerable amount of time praying on it, and I just felt like that was the right decision for me anyway. From there, I knew I wanted to do something revolving around philosophy and potentially theology. So I was looking into philosophy and theology at different places. I discovered a load of interesting courses. And then I figured religious studies I might as well check out as well, just in case. And that's when I found the course at Lancaster, which was really interesting to me. And I loved Lancaster as a uni when I visited it, so I ended up doing that. If I had the chance to study another degree, what would it be? It would probably be drama. Yeah, I love acting, I love directing. Yeah, I even do writing in my spare time so that one day I can actually produce some stuff of my own. Not, like, professionally, because I'll never become a professional, I don't think, but I just enjoy doing it. Inspiration for the channel. Which, well, see, the thing is, it's hard to pinpoint my exact inspirations, because I've noticed that I've taken elements from so many different people that I've watched over the years. First people who even made me think about opening a YouTube channel were actually way back before I ever was ready to, and I'm glad I didn't when this happened, because it was about 2008, while the platform was still fairly new, and it was Charlie Is So Cool Like and Alex Day. Then as I got older, different YouTubers were introduced to me. I got introduced to channels like How It Should Have Ended, to Cinema Sins, and Nostalgia Critic, which all informed a little bit of my love for films. Another channel that I watch called Mr. TARDIS Reviews, which very much helped me gain a critical perspective on film, TV, stuff like that, which informed my personality. Then there's channels like Jack Edwards and Unjaded Jade, Ruby Bennett, stuff like this, who do StudyTube content, which I've done something similar to that. And also there's an American channel called Blimey Cow, which was actually the inspiration behind my 5 Types of People You Meet At series. So yeah, I suppose you could say that I've taken inspiration from just about everywhere that I've watched. Just everything. Also, just the sort of stuff I did in drama and theatre was, I loved doing that so much. And favourite music genres. The thing is, I don't have particular music genres that I listen to really, or particular artists. I listen to individual songs very much. It's a case of, that one I like, this one I don't, this one I don't, maybe that one, then this one's great, and then everything else by this artist I despise. I don't have a favourite artist. It's very hard for me to say a favourite genre. However, I would say that sort of classic rock is a big thing for me. I'm a big fan of classic rock. But then there are songs that I like from pretty much every genre though, so it's difficult for me to say. I have enjoyed some rap music and some soul music. I've enjoyed certain pop tracks, and I've also enjoyed very much the pop-punk era, as well as regular punk, and yeah, I basically have no particular music taste. I will happily listen to it as long as I enjoy it, which is part of the reason why I will happily listen to songs that came out in the 40s, or songs that came out more recently but restyled into the 40s and 30s and 20s and various different eras of music. Not because I particularly enjoy that genre, but because I just think that they sound good. So in conclusion, I don't really have a favourite music genre. Best moment from year 1 of uni. Okay, once again, it's going to be a difficult thing to pinpoint. I think for me personally, the best moment, it was not remotely to do with the uni itself. It was a day where, essentially, it was one of the early Sundays in Michaelmas term, and I had been feeling a bit rough that day, but I decided that I'd get up, go to church, and I went to church, had a decent meeting, it was pretty darn good, and then I came back, and I had just made up my dinner, when I just remembered that Doctor Who was going to be premiering season 11 that night, and as a Whovian, intense excitement immediately, because no matter whether it's good or bad, it's Doctor Who, and Doctor Who even when I don't like the show, because there are certain episodes that I flaming despise, I will still watch Doctor Who, because it's Doctor Who. It has such a place in my heart, and it's essentially a significant amount of why I am the person I am. So, yeah, I was exceptionally excited, and we had all arranged to go and watch the premiere in one of the flats below, and so just a group of us who I kind of knew, but I wasn't exceptionally close with at the time. We'd been out a couple of times, we'd hung out a little, but we hadn't hung out all of that much, to be honest. And then we all just decided, you know what, let's just go and watch Doctor Who together. And it was great, and that was one of the best memories that I have from first year, because we just hung out, we watched the episode, we talked about it, and yeah, I personally thought the first episode of season 11 was pretty darn good. Another study with me coming in the future? I mean, potentially, if you guys want to see another study with me, then I'm more than happy to do it. I've got stuff that I need to study for, so it's always useful for me. And if it's useful for me, then I might as well do it. Are we likely to see a collab anytime soon? Here's the thing, I really would like to do a collab. I've talked with some people about doing it previously. They didn't go through for various reasons, and it's no one's fault regarding that. But, while I'm in New Zealand, it's essentially not going to happen. Because I just don't know any YouTubers at all. I don't know any big YouTubers from New Zealand or any small YouTubers from New Zealand. And so it's virtually impossible for me to find someone who would be willing to collab with me, because I have no idea who anyone is. If you guys know some people from New Zealand, some YouTubers or anything, please feel free to drop their links, because I just want people to watch. I need more content in my life. How do I think the Rise of Skywalker will do financially? Oh, we've got a Star Wars question, finally. My opinions of the Rise of Skywalker have varied significantly over time. Because when I first walked out of Force Awakens, I would have assumed, yeah, it's going to do brilliantly. Of course it is. Look at how well Force Awakens did. It did amazingly. Then Last Jedi came out, and I was like, people are going to see it. Everyone is going to see it, no matter how much they liked The Last Jedi, because they'll want to know how the heck they're going to actually make this movie. No matter whether you liked The Last Jedi or not, it certainly ended in a very interesting place for middle of the trilogy. The guy who we assumed was the main bad guy was dead, and, you know, Kylo was now in charge, the Resistance was virtually gone, so I figured, you know, yeah, everyone's going to see it, because no one has a clue how the heck this story's going to end. Then all the backlash happened afterwards, which made me think maybe not. Then Solo happened, which again made me think maybe not. After Solo, I was pretty sure that it was going to come out as the least wealth-grossing mainline Star Wars film, putting it behind all of the rest, except for Rogue One and Solo. And then the trailer came out, and Emperor Palpatine was just like, hey, I'm back, guys. Hi. That's clearly how Palpatine does it. He's just like, hello guys, I'm back, so I'm just gonna do some evil stuff, please don't stop me, bye. That's definitely what Sheev is like. And now I really have no clue whatsoever, because all of the prequel memers and everyone who's a fan of the prequels, they're gonna want to go because of Sheev, Palpatine. All of the people who didn't like The Last Jedi and Solo aren't going to want to go because of all of the backlash. And then there's just everyone else who just has no clue what the heck's going on. And so, to be honest, I have no clue whatsoever anymore. I've stopped trying to guess how well the Star Wars franchise is going to do, because it just keeps on doing whatever the heck it wants to. To be honest, the likelihood of the original Star Wars being a financial success was minuscule, and yet look at it. So, you know, my opinion won't matter in the end. All that will matter is the statistics. And the final question of the video is, my favourite biscuit. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. Now, first things first, we have to question, do Jaffa Cakes count? Either way, I'm going to exclude Jaffa Cakes for the sake of simplicity, but Jaffa Cakes are definitely sort of up there if you were to include them. Other favourite biscuits? Chocolate digestives, obviously, they're top quality. Chocolate chip cookies sort of things, also brilliant. Nice biscuits, good shout, very good shout. And those little Lotus biscuits, they're kind of interesting because originally I didn't like them at all, and now I really kind of like them, so it's development. I don't know with them. There are a lot of bad biscuits too, but those four are probably the best biscuits. I wouldn't say I have a particular favourite, although if I did have to pick one, I guess I would pick a nice biscuit, because it's nice. I feel like that's enough questions for now. I hope you guys have learned something about me and that you've enjoyed the video. Okay, thanks for watching all. I shall catch you next time.